ADR. Promoting dialogue.
It's May Day in Dakar, 1 o'clock in Lagos. Good afternoon, and many thanks for staying tuned to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and around the world on wadr.org. Welcome to Newslink. Here are the top stories. Côte d'Ivoire faces rising political tensions as key opposition leaders absent from the electoral list ahead of October's polls.
I
think it's normal because the pursuit of these people is always based on people who have always pushed to win their cause through the streets, by taking to the streets through street demonstrations.
Reactions continue to trail state of emergency in Nigeria's Rivers State as a new sole administrator takes charge. Authority in Senegal set to build its first gold refinery plant to boost the economy.
For this transformation to benefit the state, we must first review the types of contracts that we have. It is the kind of licenses that we have granted to certain mining companies that actually exploit our mines. So it would be necessary that the state takes its own measures.
And Liberian government launches major anti-corruption initiative with arrival of forensic experts. Please stay tuned for details of these stories and more.
Here is Augustine Coley with Newslink.
Many thanks for joining our broadcast. We begin right here in Senegal as President Bassirou Diomaye Faye received the 2023-2024 report from the Ombudsman of the Republic on Thursday. The document highlights several recommendations concerning justice, land reform, and the improvement of public service quality. The 2023-2024 report addresses major issues related to the rule of law, as well as strategies to ensure fairness and trust in the judicial system. The document outlines several recommendations, notably to improve detention conditions, advance land reform, and enhance road safety. The Senegalese head of state, President Bassirou Diomaye Faye, upon receipt, had committed to implementing these recommendations. Francis Boniface reports.
The 2023-2024 report addresses major issues related to the rule of law, as well as strategies to ensure fairness and trust in the judicial system, according to Demba Kanji, the Ombudsman of the Republic.
The mediator of the Republic, a singular institution embodied by an independent authority, has the power to propose, recommend, suggest, and investigate. This report that I have the honor to present to you, Mr. President of the Republic, testifies to the concerns and expectations of our fellow citizens, the challenges encountered, and the progress made throughout the past period. It is subdivided into 4 parts: the main process, national activities, international cooperation, and perspectives.
The document outlines several recommendations, notably to improve detention conditions, advance land reform, and enhance road safety. This report has been praised by President Bassirou Diomaye Faye.
I have also noted several concrete proposals that commit our administration at various levels. These include the implementation of judicial decisions, good governance, the inclusion of associations in decision-making, the humanization of detention, improvements in public service quality, financial reform, and road safety.
The Senegalese head of state emphasized the importance of effectively implementing these recommendations.
Francis Boniface with that report. We continue in Senegal because the country will soon be equipped with a gold refinery plant. This announcement was made by the Senegalese Mines Corporation in partnership with FUNIS, the Sovereign Fund for Strategic Investments. This marks the country's first gold refinery plant poised to boost the economy. Christopher Atijo has the details.
According to Ngai Demba Toure, director of the Senegal Mines Corporation, the project aligns with the goal of locally refining gold sourced from artisanal mines. Dr. Suleimani Keita, economist and lecturer researcher at the Sheikh Anta Diop University in Dakar, highlights this as an opportunity for the national economy.
On the macroeconomic plan, you know very well that most of our mineral resources, mainly gold, we're refining outside the country. So it means that the need for transformation, even in a new location, was a problem. So in a way, it creates an opportunity to have a refining material on the internal level, which is a source of job creation, but also it allows us to set the number of jobs that we will be able to do. We need to transform this raw material into a refined product or semi-finished product. This is a semi-industrialization of our economy.
The initiative aspires to position the mining sector as a growth engine for Senegal's economy, hence the importance of implementing an effective policy for gold resource transformation.
For this transformation to benefit the state, we must first review the types of contracts that we have. It is the kind of licenses that we have granted to certain mining companies that actually exploit our mines. So, we have a relatively low percentage of these products. So, it would be necessary that the state takes its own measures and that the industrial unit that is put in place is a state-owned industrial unit. Otherwise, if it is not, we should not be concerned with much.
In 2023, 12 tons of gold were produced, valued at over 484 billion CFA francs, according to the Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, ETI.
Christopher, our teacher, reporting there. Let's now take you to Mali in the Central Sahel region, where the National Human Rights Commission has raised concerns over violations of fundamental freedoms in the country. The human rights body strongly condemns any form of illegal restrictions. This announcement comes amid increasing number of arrests targeting critical voices. Imo Edit has the details in this report.
The National Human Rights Commission has voiced its apprehension regarding the threats to freedom of opinion and expression in the country, relying on several legal frameworks, including the new constitution and the transitional charter. The CNDH is urging the authorities to respect individuals' rights and freedoms. The Human Rights Organization underlines that freedom of opinion and expression are, and I quote, rights that cannot be subject to unlawful restrictions, end of quote. Furthermore, the National Human Rights Commission condemns any act that infringes on the freedoms of opinion, expression, or association. It calls for adherence to Mali's international commitments on human rights. The statement by the National Human Rights Commission comes in the context of heightened restrictions on freedoms in the country. For months, voices have been raised to denounce pressure on public figures. The disappearance of Aliou Badara Sako, a civil society member, on March 14 in Bamako is cited as an example. Although the CNDH does not explicitly reference this case in its statement, its message comes at a time when national and international organizations are questioning the situation of human rights defenders in Mali. In response to the situation, the CNDH urges citizens to exercise restraint and foster social cohesion to avoid public unrest.
That's words Bamako correspondent Aliyu Cham's report, voiced by Imo Edit.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Let's leave the Central Sahel region for Cote d'Ivoire as political tensions are beginning to escalate 7 months before the presidential election. Several opposition political party leaders are not included on the electoral roll and are therefore ineligible. This is the case on President Laurent Gbagbo, a declared candidate for the PPACR, and Charles Bregoudé, a former Minister of Youth Affairs and a declared candidate for COJEB. The Ivorian political opposition fears that the country is heading towards a non-inclusive presidential election. It also calls on its supporters to mobilize against the measure. Noureddin Oyeole is an Ivorian political analyst. He provides analysis of the situation.
Je pense que c'est normal, parce que le profil de ces personnes, ce sont des gens qui ont toujours.
I think it's normal because the pursuit of these people is always based on people who have always pushed to win their cause through the streets, by taking to the streets through street demonstrations. This has always characterized the Ivorian left from which they come. Today, by saying it, I think they've even held back. So, this is the final blow for them. Our asking their activists to mobilize for the sake of public order. Now, hasn't the situation changed? Are the activists who used to come out, who were young almost 15 years ago, are those who were 15 or even 20 now 35, having other attacks whipped up? Will this score really be expected? Because the young people we have today aren't sufficiently politicized, even if social media allows them to get informed. They don't have the activist culture that those before them had. So these are questions. And so in the coming days, let's see if the score will truly be heard by the population. It's true that in the language of politicians in Cote d'Ivoire today, it's all about the opposition. They are ratcheting up the pressure to win their case. But really, when we look at the environment, the Ivorian population, because as we always say, the population has to be determined to follow the slogans for there to be violence. Today, with the crisis that Ivorians as a whole are going through, there is a bit of restraint. No one is ready to relieve their difficulties, the difficult years we experienced.
Personne n'est prêt à revivre les difficultés, les années chaudes que nous avons connues.
Nuruddin Oyeole is an Ivorian political analyst. In Liberia, the Government Assets Recovery and Property Retrieval Task Force has announced the investigations of more than 18 alleged corruption cases. Recently, the government, through the Assets Recovery Team, invited 2 financial forensic experts to aid in the recovery of misappropriated assets. The team's leader, Councillor Edwin Clark Martin, said the cases announced will be handled with care. Meanwhile, Andrew Durant, one of the forensic experts invited, has expressed his enthusiasm for contributing to this vital initiative.
Come to Liberia to help the Liberian people and the government to make recoveries. So we're very pleased that we've managed to arrive in Monrovia. We've been very much welcomed. We have only been here for 2 days, but we spent a day with Councillor Martin and the investigation and legal team understanding what work has been done, and we look forward to continuing those conversations over the course of the next 2 weeks and working out a plan on how we can assist not only domestically in the investigation using our experience, but I think more importantly is how we can assist the Liberian government in its international efforts to recover funds and repatriate that to the country for the benefit of this task force. And this process will build confidence in the Liberian people and the Liberian government, and foreign investors will flock to Liberia and help to develop the natural resources here rather than exporting timber and ore to other countries so that they can profit. The Liberian people and the Liberian government can profit itself.
Andrew Durant is one of the forensic specialists invited in Liberia to help recover stolen assets. In Benin, as part of efforts to enhance the operational capabilities of the defense and security forces, a joint military exercise named Petropolis 2025 is being held this Friday, March 21, organized by the General Staff of the Benin's Armed Forces and the Republican Police. This exercise aims to test the intervention capabilities of the forces in the event of a terrorist attack in an urban setting. Details of our correspondent in Cotonou, Azi Adam Sulit's report, voiced by Echi Atisu.
In the face of contemporary security threats, the Beninese Armed Forces and the Republican Police are intensifying initiatives to improve their readiness and coordination. Metropolis 2025 is part of this effort, representing a full-scale tactical exercise designed to evaluate the expertise of Beninese security forces and test alert and response mechanisms in emergency situations. This marks the second exercise of its kind in Benin. It aims not only to strengthen the resilience of troops against terrorist threats, but also to ensure better coordination among the various units involved. In this regard, the authorities urge residents of Wadr and its surroundings not to be alarmed by military movements and to go about their activities as usual. Alongside this security exercise, the Ministry of National Defense has planned a significant social initiative. Free medical services have been offered to local populations since Wednesday at the premises of the Wadr City Hall. This exercise takes place within a regional context marked by security instability in several neighboring Sahel countries. Although Benin has so far been relatively spared from large-scale terrorist attacks, the nation is proactively strengthening its defense mechanisms, particularly in urban areas considered potential targets.
Aziz Adam Sulit's report from Cotonou, voiced by Eche Atisu. You are listening to Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Here is a reminder of our top stories. Côte d'Ivoire faces rising political tensions as key opposition leaders absent from the electoral list ahead of October's polls. Reactions continue to trill state of emergency in Nigeria's Rivers State as a new sole administrator takes charge. Authority in Senegal set to build its first gold refinery plant to boost the economy. Still ahead in the news, Ghanaian government revokes all mining licenses issued before December 7, 2024 to curb illegal mining crisis. We also have guest interview and sports news. Please stay with us.
Fresh and breaking news all the time. Hear it first as the news breaks, only on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Many thanks for staying with us. We're streaming live on YouTube at WADR News and on Facebook, WADR English Service. Before arriving in Ghana, let's take you through Nigeria, where following President Bola Tinubu's declaration of a state of emergency in Rivers State, Vice Admiral Ibok Ibals, retired, has been appointed as the sole administrator of the oil-rich region. This move comes in response to escalating political tensions and recent incidents of pipeline vandalism that threaten the nation's oil production. Usman Umar tells us more in this report.
The political unrest centers around a rift between Governor Siminalayi Fubara and the state lawmakers who have initiated an impeachment proceedings against him over alleged budgetary and legislative discrepancies. Compounding the crisis, a recent explosion on the Trans-Niger pipeline led to significant disruption in oil transportation. In his nationwide address, President Tinubu criticized the suspended governor for failing to address the pipeline vandalism and emphasized the necessity of federal intervention to maintain law and order. He appointed Vice Admiral Ibas as the military administrator for an initial 6-month period during which the state's judiciary will continue to function. The Nigerian Bar Association in a statement has condemned the suspension of elected officials as unconstitutional, asserting that a state of emergency does not justify dissolving an elected government. Similarly, a coalition of opposition political parties at a press conference Thursday in Abuja called on the citizens to reject what they termed as undemocratic action by the president. Meanwhile, as required by law, both chambers of the National Assembly have ratified the move by the president. Godswill Akpabio is the president of Nigerian Senate.
The Senate hereby approves the proclamation of the state of emergency 2025 declared by Mr. President in Rivers State of Nigeria as amended pursuant to Section 60 of the Constitution, Section 305, Subsection 2. Those in support of the declaration of the state of emergency in Rivers State say aye. And those against say nay. The ayes have it in unanimity.
As Vice Admiral Ibat assumes his new role, the nation watches closely, anticipating how this intervention will impact the stability and governance of the oil-rich River State. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, Usman Umar reporting from Abuja.
And now Ghana's Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, Emmanuel Kofi Boa, has announced a series of measures aimed at curbing the country's illegal mining crisis. Among them is the revocation of all mining licenses issued after December 7, as well as the launch of the flagship Blue Water Initiative, a government-led efforts to restore polluted water bodies. However, opinions on the government's approach remain divided. WADR's Nadiditity reports.
The government has revoked all licenses issued after December 7, citing irregularities in the approval process. According to the Ministry of Land and Natural Resources, 102 out of the 103 licenses granted in 2025 were issued between January 1 and January 6, just before the Akufo-Addo administration left office. Speaking at a press briefing, Minister for Land and Natural Resources Emmanuel Kofi-Boa, who also announced the disbandment of all community mining schemes, defended the decision, emphasizing that the move is necessary to restore order and transparency within the sector.
We are going full steam ahead to revoke all licenses based on the findings. All licenses, small-scale licenses that were issued from December 7th is hereby revoked. Whether you have EPA licenses, because the finding is very clear. Those licenses from December 7th were rushed, the due processes were not followed, and the right things were not done. People will have the opportunity to appeal to make sure the right things are done.
However, the government's measures have sparked mixed reactions. Executive Director of Environmental Advocacy Group Eco-Conscious Citizens, Awola Sewa, who has welcomed the move, however, is calling for a total ban on galamsey to decisively curb its environmental destruction.
It's a step in the right direction. There's no doubt about that. Whether it's enough is another matter. We're very cautious. I'll give you an example. When in opposition, His Excellency the President said he will repeal the law that allows mining in forest reserves, LI 2462. And what happened yesterday was an attempt to amend sections of LI 2462. And that is not what we asked for.
Meanwhile, the Executive Director of Arusha Ghana, another environmental advocacy group, Dero Bosu, has expressed skepticism over government's Blue Water initiative, arguing that while well-intentioned, it may not offer a comprehensive solution to the illegal mining crisis. For WEDR, Nadiri Tete, Accra.
Politics, analysis on major news, social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
We're still right in Ghana to discuss the government's new measures aimed at curbing the country's illegal mining crisis, and this is because opinions on the government's approach remain divided. Ayonam Manyi is a Ghanaian farmer and one of the lead campaigners against illegal mining in the country. She speaks in reaction to the new measures.
Thank you very much. I think that the time has come for stakeholders, especially government who carries the mantle to handle the affairs of the country, to step out of the office and walk the talk. Galamsey menace has not started today, but previous government, according to them, had made attempts to tackle the menace. But what do we see? The case has worsened. So giving the chance to this current party, New Democratic Congress, to lead the country, everybody have higher expectations of them. So for the plans that they have rolled out or the initiative they've rolled out to make sure they tackle the galamsey issue is something that we are all excited about. But my brother, one thing that has to do with Africa, not just Ghana, is about implementation to the latter. We have heard the announcement. We've seen the press conferences. But what we are expecting as a stakeholder in youth in agriculture, advocating for youth to go into agriculture, we need fertile lands to farm. So my expectation is that beyond these measures, let the action speak for itself. That is what we are looking at. Monitoring and actions be taken, not just speak, call press conferences and not step out to the field to get the work done.
With regards to the revocation of all mining licenses issued after December 7, 2024, followed by the government's launch of a flagship Blue Water initiative which seeks to restore polluted water bodies, don't you see the effectiveness of such measure to help curb the issue of galamsey in the country?
That initiative is a very, very, very laudable one. Now, the previous government that has awarded these certificates or these licenses to people to mine heard our cry. I was among one of the young people who stepped out on the streets of Accra to protest against illegal mining in the waters, in our forest reserves, and other things, because I eat, I farm. And so for them revocating, I think it's in the right direction, because the government that gave these lines knew that we were protecting. So I don't know the logic behind giving such huge, number of licenses before stepping out of office. What were they planning, or what was the logic behind it? So for me, I personally endorse the revocation, but you revoke this blue ocean thing to clean our waters. Just yesterday, I saw a video online where people were busily washing these chemicals into one of the rivers.
There are also concerns about the effectiveness of the Blue Water Initiative. Some argue that it may not be a strategic solution to the deep-rooted problem of galamsey. What do you make of such argument by others in the public?
I think the Blue Ocean Initiative is just one of the many solutions to clean the waters or to get the waters clean than it is polluted now. I would rather suggest that we strengthen collaboration and partnership with traditional authorities, including the citizens in these communities that their mining is happening. Municipal chief executive, district chief executives, because minister is at a city. Minister would only get to know what is happening when a call is placed to him or when he make a trip or a tour to the regions. And so if you want to get this Blue Water Initiative very active and well implemented, then they have to collaborate.
That's Enyona Manyi, a Ghanaian farmer and one of the lead campaigners against illegal mining activities in Ghana. Here comes Sankule Janko with the latest in the sporting world. Good afternoon, Sankule.
Good afternoon, Augustine.
History has been made in Olympics. Tell us more about that.
Yes, indeed, you're right. History has been made because two-time Olympic gold medalist and Zimbabwe sports minister Ketsy Coventry made history as he becomes the first African as well as the first woman to be elected as the president of the International Olympic Committee, OIC. This was confirmed by the outgoing president, Thomas Bach, who announced her as the winner on Thursday following a closed-door secret voting. The 41-year-old Coventry secured 49 out of the possible 97 votes, while her closest rival and competitor, IOC Vice President Juan Antonio Samarak, garnered 28 votes. World Athletics President Sebastian Coe, who was also considered the frontrunner, got 8 votes. It's been an incredible historical moment insofar as Olympic is concerned.
Yes, this is well inclusive as well and very great.
Absolutely.
Now, quickly, there has been interesting results coming out of the World Cup qualifiers, and I know you would like to say something about that.
I'm glad you don't ask me the question about the Gambia, but yes, indeed, you're right. There's been some incredible and thrilling results in the 2025 FIFA World Cup qualifiers here in Africa. We've seen some amazing results. Let's begin with the Gambia and Kenya. It was a 6-goal thriller. Gambia, led 3 times. But Kenya rallied back, to equalize on on all the occasions. So it was an interesting, game of football. Libya, we've seen, of course, led by former Senegalese coach Aliou Cissé, were held to a goal, a 1-1 draw against Angola. Another interesting game. Gabon beat Seychelles 3-0. And, of course, Alpha Aboubakar's, Mali were 3-0 winners against Comoros.
All right. So how prepares the Gambia to take on Kenya, perhaps in Nairobi, the second leg?
Gambia, they are not prepared for the World Cup. No. I can assure you that. But I'm so others.
That's sports, no? You know that.
You know that, yes. But there are some also very interesting results. Fixtures for today. And I'm so Imo and others are looking forward to watching the Super Eagles of Nigeria.
That's great. With that, we've come to the end of this edition of Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Mustafa Sek and Sheikh Njai for the technical support. To interact with us via our social media platforms, X formerly Twitter, Instagram at WADR News, and on Facebook, WADR English Service. I am Augustine Cully. Good afternoon.
And many thanks to you for listening to Newslink via Hot 104.3 FM, New Me FM 94.0,
Hilltop Radio 104.